Good Friday evening, afternoon. What are we? Evening.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Welcome.
Doesn't matter.
I'm Darren. This is Victor. Actually,
I'm
did it right
Victor.
this
No,
time.
you're there. I don't know. There, yes.
It's
some.
fine. Doesn't matter. Welcome to our Friday live stream that is actually happening this Friday. Next Friday may be questionable. We'll look at that later. Where have you been this week? You have been everywhere this week, right?
Yeah, I think I had like 4,
Wait,
5,
wait,
maybe.
wait. We forgot. We got to start. We have to start it off right.
I'm out of booze. This is horrible.
That's a good thing. I'm proud of you. You're finally out.
No. I was about to go out, and then I saw a reminder that I need to be here. So
yes, I'm glad you're here. If you're just catching up with us right now, we're going to talk for probably about an hour about who knows what. I got a couple of ideas that we're going to talk about. If you got any questions, go ahead and leave them down in the comments down in that far corner over there. Nope. Victor, point to your left. No, your left.
this is my left.
Yeah, now point down. Okay, yeah, over there. That's where it is. Go ahead and start putting some stuff over in the comments. We'll answer your questions. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. This is sort of a free-for-all Friday. Obviously, we're sort of in our happy hour mode already, even though I still have about 5 or 6 hours of work to do. And of course, this is as heavy as it gets for me. This is Coca-Cola Coke Zero. So I don't even drink the regular stuff. I drink the zero stuff. Guys drink zero stuff. I guess girls drink diet. I don't know. That's probably going to cause a lot of problems. Sorry, I drink diet too if I'm out of zero. So anyway, a couple things. You've been in a lot of places this week. What have you done this week?
Physically, I was in the same place all the time.
Right.
But spiritually, I had like
digitally
4 or 5 digitally.
Yes.
Spiritually sounds better, but okay,
It does.
digitally.
Yeah.
I was, I don't know, like 4 or 5 public talks, I think, one half-day workshop, couple of private talks, and that's all on top of the normal, usual work that everybody does, including me.
And you still have one more to go today.
Yes, I do.
What is it that you're doing this afternoon? Well, actually, my afternoon. It's actually you start at, was it 10 p.m., 11 p.m. time? Your night? 10 p.m. tonight, your time.
Now, that question doesn't work for me. Because I honestly, I don't know. I get the notification, 10 minutes before something. And then I figure, so this is what I'm supposed to do now. And if it happens to be something that I need to prepare for, then I'm in deep trouble usually.
So for the promoter that has Victor on in a few hours, don't be surprised. I'll just put it that way. And then you've got more stuff next week. So did you watch Carlos this week? By the way, if you haven't listened to Carlos's episode from 2 weeks ago, go take a listen to it. But he talked about, what did he talk about this week? Was it GitOps at, what was the phrase of that? I don't remember the name of it. Did you watch it?
No idea. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it either. So Carlos, if you're watching, sorry we didn't watch your live this week. But Carlos works for Adobe, which we didn't talk about on the podcast, but he talked about it in how they do whatever it is that he does with Adobe. So go watch that because we've known Carlos now. I've known him for 4 years. You've known him for much longer than that, right?
I mean, also 4 years, give or take, since he joined Cloud. Since he recruited me for Cloudbase.
Oh, okay. So anyway, go watch that. I'll try to dig up the link as we go through some stuff, and I'll try to put it in the chat so I don't forget it. One thing that I saw come through this week that I thought was interesting. Now, you don't know exactly what we're talking about, which isn't much different than normal. But let's see here.
Look, if you told me what we're going to talk about, I still wouldn't know because that would mean that I would have to read your email.
Yeah. Well, I didn't bother sending an email. So this one is a Kubernetes IDE for monitoring, debugging, blah, blah, blah. Right? It's an Electron base. So this means there are cool kids writing cool JavaScript stuff to do things with Kubernetes. I have installed it. I actually haven't hooked it up to a cluster yet. I've got a cluster going in this afternoon that I'm going to see how it really works. But based on what I saw, It's very cool. It's recently open sourced, if I read everything correctly. You can manage multiple clusters. You can do all these sort of cool things. Now, mind you, it's all from your desktop, but whatever. Built-in Prometheus. This is what I'm going to look at this afternoon specifically. I was like, because I'm talking to some other people next week, and I was like, this might be interesting for some people. Maybe not everybody, but some people. And there's a demo video here at the bottom that takes you through whatever it is. So what do you think about having a Kubernetes IDE? That smells to me, just saying IDE and Kubernetes in the same sentence.
So what I would prefer, so for me personally, right?
Yeah.
I would prefer if that would be some form of extension for Visual Studio Code.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really eager now to have 7 different IDEs to do depending on what I need to do in every single moment. That's too complicated for my tiny brain. But if this would be in the IDE of my choosing, then I think could be interesting. Assuming, and this is now a big thing, assuming that we're talking about me using it while developing something, right?
Yep.
Not kind of, this is not operational, how you do operations in production, I hope.
Right.
If it is, then it's the wrong direction.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm eating lunch too. Squeeze it in when I can. So this doesn't plug into... Sorry, I should probably chew first. This does not plug into VS Code. However, it's written with the same tooling as VS Code is written. So it looks and smells like VS Code, not surprisingly.
Yeah.
It could be interesting. Oh,
yeah, I mean,
So Neil, hang on a second. So I'm gonna take one of Neil's things. So Neil says he's used Lens and showing, right? Showing people things, not operationally maybe, but just showing it like as a quick view. This is one of the pluses from my perspective of OpenShift, right? The OpenShift UI is, in my opinion, I'm not going to call it very good, but I'm going to call it very good compared to just using kubectl and trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, no, you definitely. If you want to kind of visualize something, then kubectl or any CLI is not a good choice.
It's not, right?
Now, I heard a lot of good things about Octant. I haven't used it much yet, but that would be, from what I've seen without really using it, that might be a good choice because it is not tied to a specific distribution like OpenShift.
Right.
And it is highly extensible. You can basically extend it to do anything you want.
So I'm assuming you're talking about, not that, this, right?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
Again, not based on a lot of experience. I haven't used it much yet.
Yeah. So the upside but Octant is an installable, right? Oh no, is it local too? Oh, it is.
So it is local and it connects to the cluster. So it's a web
local web instance.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So in that sense, it's not the major difference between what you showed me before and this one is probably in a way that the one is a web page and the other one is IDE. Yeah. But for visualization, looks decently good.
Okay. And Octant is from VMware. So it's part of Tanzu if you look up here in the URL. So.
And just to clarify, it doesn't have to be local. You can run it in your cluster and then anybody can access it.
Right. Neil actually has a couple of questions. So let's get to those questions first before I talk about anything else. I lost my mouse. What the heck? Okay, there it is. There we go. All right. Wow, I really have lost my mouse. Okay, Neil, I promise I will get your questions up in just a second. Oh, I see what it is. I'm in the wrong place. So my mouse is on the wrong screen. Okay, here we go. That was so weird. All right, so here's Neil's question. Prometheus question. 1 per Kubernetes cluster or, hold the or, cluster for 1 for multiple clusters?
Depends on the amount of data, really.
Okay.
Because
define data.
I cannot really tell you kind of, this many kilobytes, megabytes, terabytes, or whatever.
Okay.
Because it really depends on the frequency with which you're fetching data, how long do you keep them before pruning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that Prometheus itself, now ignoring the potential workarounds, does not scale. So it has a limit to how much it can absorb. right?
Okay.
Whatever that limit is, depends on the memory, CPU, many things. So I would prefer, my answer is 1 Prometheus until you reach the limit.
Okay.
Because it's easier to see more things in one place than in multiple places.
So define limit.
When it's slow.
When it gets slow, define slow.
Yeah, or when. Okay. Let actually.
You see where I'm going with this, right? There has to be some reasonable.
Okay, not slow. Actually, it will not be slow. When its memory consumption reaches 80% of what you're willing or capable of giving it.
Okay.
There you go.
That's more concrete. Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. Hopefully that helped, Neil. So basically, stick with 1 until 1 isn't enough.
No, there is another thing.
Okay.
Actually, it might be reasonable to even without reaching any limit to go 1 per each cluster. If you use something else to visualize things, as you should, like Grafana.
Right.
And then Grafana would be collecting from 1 or 7 Prometheus instances. Does not really matter from Grafana point of view, right? It just queries all those Prometheuses. So then having multiple is not a downside. And assuming that you are actually firing alerts from Prometheus to notify you when there is something wrong, and that notification will be always tied to a certain cluster.
Yeah.
Because if you get an alert, there is something wrong in one of the clusters, I don't know which one, then you're...
Right. If it happens to be that cluster, don't monitor yourself.
Yeah.
So the better solution potentially would be fill out as many Prometheuses as you want, stick Grafana off somewhere else and let it take care of the work.
Yeah.
Right? That just from an operational perspective.
The problem is that there is always but.
There's always a but.
There is always but. Like on the other hand, Grafana querying from multiple sources for each of the many visualization you're going to put on a dashboard is going to slow it down as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's faster to query from one source. So then you might want to say, no, what you just said is wrong. Better to have one instance if I want fast outputs from Grafana. And then whatever I just said a minute ago is not valid anymore. So the answer is I have no idea.
Okay, that's the final answer. I have no idea. I don't think there is one right answer, though, right? Start with 1 and then figure out which works best for you over time. I mean, it's because at some point you're going to hit some sort of inflection that causes you to have to make a decision, right? Don't try to solve for it too soon, I guess.
It's always about understanding different pros and cons of whatever you're doing and then making a decision. To me, that's a similar question if I would ask you right now, and because other people ask me, is it better to have small nodes or big nodes in a cluster?
How much money do you
and
want
the
to
answer
spend?
is depends.
Yeah. Am I on
I mean,
premise?
many
Am I in
small
cloud?
nodes or...
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's the workload like? Do I need memory optimized? Do I need compute optimized? Do I need... I don't know, right? And there's no way to know. It's like, I think this is part of the problem too with Kubernetes. I'll go ahead and say it. You can create a general purpose workload Kubernetes cluster. However, if you decide to put a high frequency trading application inside of that cluster, and it's all on burstable CPUs, that's probably not the best idea. So the infrastructure under your cluster still matters. You have to understand what's running on it. If I have a cluster that is running nothing but stateless applications, that cluster infrastructure is going to look very different than if I'm running a completely fully loaded full set of applications. I'm going to need, it's all going to depend. So as much as we want to say Kubernetes is the savior of infrastructure, it's not.
It solves some problems.
It solves some
and
problems.
doesn't solve others.
Yes. It introduces other problems.
But that's a funny thing to me, because the thing is that whenever you have something new that solves a problem, that means that something new will also raise the bar. Mm-hmm. So it will create additional problems, but those are the types of problems that you often didn't have before.
Right.
I mean, you didn't, of course, new problem by definition is something that you didn't have before. But the point is that you didn't ever actually reach the point where you can actually start dealing with that problem. And then suddenly it's a new problem.
Yep. By the way, Moz, what's up, man? Happy Friday. To you. So, speaking of Friday, that means it's typically the day before what we would classify pre-quarantine times a weekend. And usually on the weekends we would have fun. However, you probably haven't seen this yet, or maybe you have and didn't know it. I know what we're doing this weekend.
Oh, are we rewriting our course? Are there breaking changes?
This is as far as I got. So let's see.
I'm gonna behave like a 1-year-old child. No. Did it go away? Did it go away?
No, it's still there.
Doesn't work.
Okay, so let's see what's here. Where do we want to start? Change notes. That's probably the best place, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's start there. So literally, I didn't know about this. I found it during our 10-minute countdown. He didn't know this was coming. Did you know it was released?
I knew that it was released, but that's all I knew. I just heard it came.
Okay. So here's the high level, right? Traffic management, security. So these are all the big buckets. Added new workload entry.
Okay, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what that is. Experimental support for Kubernetes service APIs. Okay, it's experimental. Forget it. Removed. Removed is always a good one. Let's see if this one's going to break something. Most configuration flags and environment variables for the proxy. These now read directly from the mesh config. Does that smell?
It's okay because no, it doesn't matter really because if Istio is managing your proxy, which is Envoy in most cases, so as long as they figured it out and then they incorporated it, it's okay. Nothing for me to do.
Okay, so maybe no big deal in traffic management. Let's look at security. Added JWT caching.
Okay.
Cool, fixed a problem. Removed security alpha API, security beta API, which were introduced in 5. The only supported security API is 6. What? Oh, remove the alpha and beta. So,
yeah.
So did we have anything specific to that?
But this is the thing that bothers me, and this is the thing that bothered me in the previous release of Istio. Yeah. It's kind of, okay, so you removed beta. Excellent. Immediately after you introduce beta, shouldn't you leave it running for a while so that when I upgrade this, if I'm using that, whatever that is, so that when I upgrade Istio, my things do not break until
Immediately.
Yeah.
Golly. Okay. All right. That's really annoying. All right.
Yeah.
So telemetry, a bunch of added telemetry. That's no big deal to us. Installation. Added support for Istio Canary upgrades. Does that just completely negate everything we just complained about?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would guess no, but...
Okay. We like to complain. Let's see. Added, changed, removed, separate Citadel, sidecar ejector, and galley deployments. Okay. That was already gone to begin with. And Istio Cuddle, better display, support. Okay, so nothing really scares me. Let's look at the upgrade notes. Let's see how long the upgrade document is. Okay, so when you upgrade from 5 to 6, okay, note this. When you upgrade from 5 to 6, not from 4 to 6, not from 3 to 6, from 5 to 6. So that means you have to do all the work. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm muted. You're muted. You're muted.
I'm muted. Okay, so to me, that's perfectly okay. I like the logic, which is the same like what Kubernetes does. You want to upgrade, you upgrade to the next minor version.
Okay, fair enough.
And if you're 3 versions behind, then it's your fault. Upgrade them one by one. But we cannot really guarantee that if you jump 7 versions, it will work.
Yep.
It makes sense.
Okay, so there's some stuff here. Update the galley. Change the readiness. Removal of legacy helm. Ending support of Alpha 1. I think this is going to break us. I think we'll get some stuff in the course that uses these.
In the course, we're not using those.
No, I thought we were. Oh, you know what I'm thinking? We're not directly, but the Chaos plugin is.
Plugin, yeah.
Okay.
That's quite possible. We'll see.
Okay, I guess I need to put in a PR to Sylvan again.
No, or so now we like with this upgrade, we need to make a choice, like with many other things. Do we go through everything we ever did, or shall we wait until somebody complains and fix it? That's the real question.
Well, we know the right answer. We're going to fix it regardless. But now Moz did bring up one thing here. He was expecting native support for Gatekeeper, our OPA Gatekeeper. I don't know, man. I don't see anything here. Let's better lifecycle. Observe this. Okay, so better observability, blah, blah, blah. Better virtual machine support. Who cares? I'm sure people do care. Networking improvements. Enabled Gateway SDS by default for more secure experience. So there's stuff here. I'm sure there's breaking things, so we'll have to play with it some. But hey, if you're using Istio, be careful if you do an upgrade. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I was really disappointed on the previous release that really had breaking changes. At least here they're not announcing anything breaking.
Yeah.
At least obviously breaking.
I'm sure there will be some obvious things happen. Now, since I have the screen up, I'm just going to stay over here for a minute. I found this too. RBAC analysis made easy. So it's a static RBAC analysis tool. I haven't run it yet, but in theory, if you follow the rules, you get an analysis of whatever. I don't know what this does, but it talks you through all these different things. This is another thing I'm going to look at this weekend, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to have to deal with? Again, for most people, you'd never use this. If you're an administrator, you care, but you know.
Yeah, yes. I mean, if you're an administrator, you care, but then if you're a typical administrator, I hope that I'm not offending anybody, then by the time you start caring about it's already about to be deployed to production, then you're going to complain, and then people are going to complain back and say, yes, but we have a deadline. Why didn't you tell us that 3 months ago? And you know how it goes.
It's a tale as old as time. It's just, it's Beauty and the Beast, right? You know, it's security always gets toasted at the last possible second. So
automate.
Well, static analysis should be automated. It's one thing to do dynamic analysis, right? That is more costly, more tragic, if you will, in case of a failure. But static analysis, that's good information.
I mean, even dynamic analysis, you know, if you cannot run it every time you deploy to some environment or create a pull request, if you cannot do that, then you will not be able to do it manually either.
Right.
I mean, if it takes a full day to do it in an automated way, then it's going to take 3 weeks to do it manually. So what can you do?
Yep. So those were the big things that I found today. There's been more big things this week, but those are the things that we were talking about. What was the interesting thing out of one of your talks? Do you remember any of your talks this week?
Yeah, I don't know
did you get questions that were interesting?
I got actually from a couple of people comments on a sentence that I said in one of the talks. Kind of multiple people said this is the most important sentence, so it's stuck to my mind. And that was that at one moment there was some question about GitOps something, and my answer was different panelists, right? So people from different companies stuff. The answer was, we have no idea what you're doing. That's the truthful answer. We honestly don't. We're just trying to figure out as we go. To me, that's kind of describes the current state of the industry. And this is a good thing, because when we know what we're doing, then we are 5 years behind, right? When you don't know what you're doing, either you're incompetent, which is likely my case, but for other people, that means that you're trying to figure out as you go because you're breaking some barriers and we have no plan.
Yeah. So we got two questions that sort of align to that sort of statements. So Moz has GitOps reduces a lot of the RBAC work for me, which is true.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
If Git is the entry point to your system instead of humans being entry point to the system, then you're more concerned about validating whether what you're going to merge to the master is correct than who is going to get access to the cluster on a human level. We still have an issue about for RBAC on a process level, which process can do what. That's Istio and many other things. But on a human level, nobody can access the cluster and you have the RBAC solved.
Yes. What's the most secure machine you can have? A box that isn't plugged into power or network and not turned on. That's highly secure.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything, but it's highly secure.
Still, yes. Now, I would like a middle ground. It's okay to be plugged into network, but you cannot access
it.
Yeah. But Git can. So, and this is, I think, one of the huge differences, and I think one of the big benefits from GitOps is that we had those two extremes in the past. I mean, not everybody, but most of us. Either you give access to the cluster to everybody so that people can be productive.
Yep.
But then you're exposing yourself to a huge risk. Not only security, but messing up things and stuff like that, right? Yeah. Or you say, you cannot, nobody can access the cluster except me, therefore I'm going to be a bottleneck for everybody, which is equally horrible on a different level.
Yeah, instead of it being a machine that's accessing it, it's a human.
Yeah, so everybody can be productive. You just need to push code to Git.
Well, this is I can't remember. I don't remember if we talked about it last week or if it was one of the recordings that's coming up. But I was listening to an episode of Streaming Audio by Tim Berglund, who's the head of developer relations at Confluent, and he was interviewing Kelsey Hightower.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelsey brought up the point of, look, even in Kubernetes, you've got operators, but the analog of operators are humans on the outside. Everything that's happening inside of Kubernetes today happens inside of your four walls today. It's just that an operator in Kubernetes does what a human does today with a VM. Or some variant, right? The operator emulates a human in that perspective. So if you're not to the point to where you can eliminate humans from doing certain roles today, that's okay. Don't feel bad about that. And this is actually going to lead into Neil's question that came in from his wife. We're getting proxy questions now, which is interesting. But start with where you are, right? And take one step forward. The problem that I see a lot of times is, okay, hey, we're not doing anything. I'm at A right now. I need to be at Z tomorrow without going through B, C, and D. I just need to get there. And that's going to be complete and utter chaos and failure. It's just not going to work. So this will be the thing to think as you're starting to go down these, oh wait, here comes a buzzword, fair warning. Once you're going down your digital transformation, I can't believe I just had those words cross my lips.
I really need alcohol now.
Wow, I can't believe I just said that. When you're making these changes in your organization, don't try to boil the ocean in a day. In fact, don't ever try to boil the ocean, period. Just get a cup of water out of the ocean and go boil it. Can you do that successfully? Great. Go do it again the next day. Maybe you can move up from a cup to a pot, right? You're going to find the rhythm.
95% of big companies fall into two groups. One group that has a plan that is so unrealistic that they're bound to fail. Kind of, we're going to go microservices, Kubernetes, cloud. We're going to do all that.
Yep.
And then when they face the sheer volume of all that, they fail.
Which
and the other one that...
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
The other one that gets scared from that sheer volume realizes how big that thing is and chooses not to change at all.
Right.
Kind of, because it's too much for me. And both of them actually result in status quo.
Yes. So that leads us into the question from Neil's wife. What do you do about an organization that has unrealistic timelines? By the way, every organization, whether they mean to or not, always has unrealistic timelines.
Not all, majority.
Majority. Okay, fair enough, because all is too extreme. So, and then the B part of this question, for somebody like me who's cynical to pessimist a lot of the times, I always feel like I'm being set up for failure. I have to get out of my head. So let's talk about this. What do you do about it? Okay, let's deal with the A part first. The unrealistic timelines.
But the thing is that Neil actually posed has a grammatical issue in that sentence, because there is a question, there is the answer to his own question in the second part of that sentence.
Okay.
Kind of, what happens when an organization has unrealistic timelines? Put the question mark there,
Yep.
and then the answer is you are bound to fail.
Yes.
Or you're set up for failure. That's what happens. Now, there is a difference between having unrealistic timelines that we all know that are unrealistic from day one. That's one scenario.
Right. That's day one. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a horrible scenario. That means that
Yeah.
you're unrealistic, and that we are all trying to keep our heads in the sand and hoping that things are going to go away, right? That
Let's
magic
do it.
is going to happen.
Yeah, let's do a concrete example. Today is Friday. I have 2 days to build a 50-story tower and have it open for business on Monday. Now, I can't do that, but in certain areas, you might be able to build a barn, right? You can do a barn raising in a weekend, right? But you're not going to build a 50-story tower in a weekend. So that's case one. Completely unrealistic from the get-go. So that one just makes you sad to begin with.
But the important question in that scenario is it unrealistic because we are not aware of how unrealistic that is, which is one option, right? We don't know that it's not realistic. And the second option is that, we know that it's unrealistic. And that is the much scarier situation. Because if you know that it's unrealistic, that means that there are some sinister reasons for that schedule. Maybe you think that actually putting unrealistic scenario will make people work better, work harder. I know it's going to take a month, but I'm going to actually set the timeline for 2 weeks. So, because it's better if it's in 2 weeks because then I know that if I say 2 weeks, they're going to fail and they're going to deliver it in a month. But if I say a month, they're going to take 2 months.
Yep.
And it seems like kind of I'm ridiculizing, but I was in those conversations with managers who think in those terms.
I'll shorten it up because I know they're going to fail. So I'm going to make it really short and double it or triple it so it ends up where I want it. If you have zero trust in your people, if you have that kind of level of trust in your people, please leave. All right. So that's case one.
Yeah.
Let's talk about case two. What do you think case two is for this?
Case two is that you were not it looked like realistic, but it turned out to be unrealistic a while later, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Except, there is nothing wrong unless you say, I don't care that I just understood, that I just gathered information that tell me that the plan is unrealistic and it was realistic a month ago. Yeah. I don't care. The timeline is still the same. Then you're an idiot.
Yes.
Kind of. Then you're a person who doesn't want to face the reality. Kind of. You don't live in the real world. Mm-hmm. Then you can just as well ride the unicorn.
Right. So let's think about quarantine. Right up until the beginning of March, everything was going along great, roughly. Let's say beginning of February because we didn't know a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
By the beginning of March, any plans you had at the beginning of February were either starting to change or were already horribly changed.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's outside sources. This goes back to the episode that we did with Yost that came out this week, right? Sometimes there are outside forces that you have zero control over that causes you to have to change what your plans are. And how you react to those changes determines your level of success. Now, that success may not be completion of the initial thing, but success may be, okay, we're 80%, and that's good enough to get going, whatever that thing is. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, things change all the time. That's you simply accepting it. Accepting that and dealing with it. Dealing with it. You should be modifying plans every week, every 2 weeks, every day, whatever. I mean, new information comes along and you adapt. If you don't adapt, you die. You fail. That's how it is. Now, if you're building something that will be built for a year, let's say, right, and you know in advance all the steps that needs to happen in a year, then you're building something that already many built before you, because obviously if you're not facing any unknowns, that means that you're redoing things that others already did, right? So I'm constructing the same building like the building I already constructed next to it, right? Exactly the same. I can have a realistic timeline about that because all the things are known. But then the question is, why are you building something in software that has no unknowns? We just gotta buy it from somebody. Why would you do it in the first place? I hope that we are all working on something that was not done before, not something that was.
Which gets us to the B part. Is there a third option to this? So the first option is, from day zero it's going to be a complete and utter failure.
Yeah.
The second option is it looks okay, but it turns out once you get in more, you realize it's not going to happen. Yes. Is there a third?
I mean, the third, theoretically, there is, yes. We had the plan and plan was successful to the minute.
Yes.
But that's a theoretical one that I personally never saw before. Now, I'm not excluding the option that such a thing exists, but I never saw it.
So what if it was successful, but at a different type of cost? So let's say I was able to build that 50-story building in 2 days. How many people died getting that done?
Yeah. Or maybe in 2 days, working 24/7.
Right.
I mean, 24 hours a day, right? So that's another thing when you say, so like if you say the plan, the timeline is to have it built in 2 months, that might not be the same thing as saying it's going to be built in this amount of hours, which is, I don't know, 8 hours a day multiplied with 44 days on average in a month and whatever the calculation is.
Right.
So yes, I said 2 months. We are behind the deadline. Therefore, you're working nights and weekends, and you do it. And why not?
And you get it done, but then at what cost? So at some cost, it may work, right? That's the unicorn. The other is you hit the date, but you've lost your team, you've lost your company, you've lost your family, you've lost whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that also is usually, almost always it's connected one way or another with certain objectives. So, you want to overestimate. So you want to so let's say if you're a manager or a product owner, you want to tell developers that it should take less than you expect it to take so that they work harder. And you want to tell CTO that it will take more than you think it will take, so that if you're delayed, you do not actually lose your bonuses and you are within the limits, right? So you tell one person 4 months, you tell another person 1 month, while in your head you're expecting 2 months.
Right.
That's the right calculation. Dear manager, if that's what you do, if that's not what you're doing, that's what you should be doing. Exaggerate to some and exaggerate to others, just in a different direction. When they say you should be doing it, that was sarcasm. I don't know. I have a hard time.
That is sarcasm. Yeah, I was just making sure. I want to be clear since this is live. That was sarcasm. Do not do that in real life.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the B side of this question, though. Go ahead, finish your thought, and then we'll talk about the B side.
That can propagate to everybody, because then developers will figure it out, and they will also tell you that it will take 3 times more than they expected to take, only so that they have a buffer, so that you don't yell at them if they don't, if their crystal ball was off too much. and so on and so forth.
What you sow is what you reap. Let's just leave it there. All right. So let's talk about the B side. How do you deal with this feeling of being set up for failure? You never get. Let me tell you how I deal with it.
Depends. Do I live in a state where guns are allowed?
Okay. How do I feel? No, we're not advocating that. Here's how I deal with that feeling. I'm going to move right on from that. I have to, anytime I get into that pressure point, that's when I'm working 24/7. Because I will not allow myself to be at a point of failure again. I can't do it. It's how I'm wired. Is it healthy? Absolutely not. But, and I'm still trying to break that. I'm trying to break that mindset in my head. Because I'm scared of failing. Doing this live stream, there's no measurement for this for me. This is just fun. What is failing? My food gets cold. That's failing, right?
That's why you should have a microwave next to you.
Well, yeah. And I'm not Joe Rogan, who, by the way, if you listen or watch Joe Rogan, he signed an exclusive deal with Spotify this week or last week. Exclusive.
For 100 mil.
Exactly. That's potentially feeling like failure. But you look at how Joe Rogan is. Now I agree with him on some things. I disagree with him on other things. But he's a smart businessman. Why not do it?
Well done.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely
Joe,
well done.
Thumbs up, man. I'll take 1% of that. Thank you very much. Or we will. All right. So that's let's put it. So I'll answer it more succinctly. How do I feel like, and you feel like you're being set up for failure? I suck it up and do it, and I become a martyr. That's how I deal with it today. That is going to change over time. It has to.
Yeah, I'm going to other.
The other extreme, yeah.
Other extreme. I start yelling at people and telling them exactly what I think about them. And ask anybody working my team, that will probably be the first kind of like description of me. He has no filter. That's why I need to change teams every once in a while. They get really...
Okay. Hopefully that answered. Monica, if you're listening, thanks for listening. I can't believe you're actually listening to us if you are. But hopefully that helps answers. I think answering the A sides of that were important. Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't know until you get into it. And if you feel like you're getting set up for failure, I don't know. Move on. All right. Moz, I started using Kustomize about a month ago. Found it very productive and easy compared with Helm. Okay. Period. Stop right there. Helm, if all you have to do is interact with Helm install, Helm remove, Helm status, Helm list, it's all good. Yeah. You go beyond that, ugh. Why isn't Kustomize not famous like Helm? One word. What's the word, Victor?
I don't know which one you're having in mind. I don't want to guess now. I'm curious. What's the word?
Microsoft.
I hear people comparing the two, and I don't think it's a fair comparison, to be honest, because both Kustomize,
they're similar but different, right? They're similar but different.
So both are templating engines,
yes.
right? They replace some things with some other things before those things are being sent, in this case, to Cube API, right? So they convert templates into final files. And in that sense, they're comparable. And I might actually agree with Moz and say, if that's all we're doing, Customized might be a simpler and better solution.
Yep.
But that's where the comparison stops, because that's more or less everything that Customized does.
Right.
It doesn't package your application, your distribution. There is no library of freely available packages. Like I cannot install MongoDB through Kustomize. I mean, I know now, before somebody starts yelling at me, that somebody might have MongoDB through customized defined in some Git repository that I could Google and find. But I see Helm, to me, part of Helm is similar, like, how do you call it? Like Maven libraries, right? That
it's like, it's like RPMs. It's like Maven Central. Yeah. It's like, it's a central repository for being able to do a thing within Kubernetes.
Exactly. And just it happens that you can use it also for your internal applications.
Yes. Which is powerful.
Yeah.
Highly powerful. Now, do you want to be writing Helm templates? No. you need to, yes, right? You need to, or do you? What's that?
But let's put it this way: if you want to write Helm templates that do more or less what Kustomize does,
okay.
it is literally curly brace dot values dot something.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
That's easy.
It cannot. Yeah. It's easy. Now, if you say it's more complicated because it does other stuff that you can do in its templating engine is more complicated, I would say yes, but that other stuff doesn't exist in Kustomize. Therefore, if you keep it on the same level, it's not really more complicated. It's just slightly different syntax. That's all there is.
Yep. Okay. Maz had another question. I'm going to leave this one to you.
First, I wouldn't say that SIG team doesn't make LTS releases. It does. It's just that the frequency of LTS releases is 3 months, which might be different frequency than frequency that we might be used to do. I don't know, Ubuntu is 4 years, right? Or 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a different frequency of releases, but I consider personally every minor release of Kubernetes to be LTS in a way, right? Or maybe not. But the major difference now, we can call it one way or another, but the major difference is the frequency. And now this is actually, to me, the second part is more curious. An upgrade to new version every 3 months is really annoying for some businesses. Yes. And I understand that. But the thing is that upgrades longer than 3 months are really annoying for some other businesses.
Yes. So, but as I'm saying is I think that's where Kubernetes has landed pretty reasonably, is there's always 3 supported, correct? Did I say that correctly?
Yes, yes, exactly.
Okay, so that gives me the option of 3, 6, or 9. Now, 9 months is still too short for a lot of people. Let's be real. But at least in that 3 to 9, I have a reasonable option.
But it's also, I imagine, I might be wrong, so don't, everything I say cannot apply to everybody. But this is, when you say annoying for businesses, I assume that you're talking about medium to big size businesses. Yes. Usually small businesses have no problem upgrading frequently, right? And then if you're talking about bigger businesses, you will not be really tied to Kubernetes release cycle. You will be tied to the release cycle of whichever Kubernetes platform you're using on top of core Kubernetes. OpenShift, EKS, GKE, AKS, whatever it is, right?
Correct.
And then it's up to that. Then they might have a release. I mean, OpenShift doesn't really, how often do they release? Kind of like almost never.
Yeah, it's very slow, very slow. I don't know.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it is annoying every 3 months. But then if it would be every year, then the sheer volume of the things you need to upgrade to would be incredible. I would be scared to upgrade. So basically, you would effectively should request from Kubernetes community to be slower, not in releasing, but in the features. Because if this velocity continues and you upgrade once a year,
we're talking about the Istio changes, right? I mean, just these 0.5 to 0.6. Holy cow. Right? How much things are going to break when people do that upgrade? You know, for a lot of other people, it's going to be bad. All right. Finish up one more question from Moz. How do you like Helm?
So you're converting it into a question. So I really despised Helm 2. I think it was horrible because of the tiller. But at that time, there was no real good alternative.
Yeah.
Now we have Helm 3 and Customize, and I do think that Customize, to me, Customize is confusing. It's just giving me partly what I need and not what I really need. And now there is another confusing part, and I don't know whether that will happen, is that Customize was first a standalone project, right?
Yes.
And then it was incorporated into kubectl.
Yes.
And I heard some conversations, I don't know whether that happened, that it will be now removed again. And the whole history, if you follow the history of Customize, is a history of a lot of confusion in my head. Now, that might be me, right? Sometimes I get confused and others don't. I really don't understand fully what it's trying to do, because if what it's trying to do is what it's doing right now, I think it's not enough.
So that's the general consensus on that, right? It's just like, especially if they rip it back out. This is my opinion. Helm has already won the battle and has almost, if not already, won the war.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same argument of using RPM on a Fedora-based box, right? You don't use, well, or DNF, I guess, depending on which version you're using, but it's the same thing.
And here we are coming also to one important thing that I think that many people are overlooking, is that it's not only about what is slightly better than something else, it's about also what is more widely used.
Yes.
So if I have two tools, and one adoption of one is this, adoption of the other is this, I would always choose this one unless this one gives me substantial advantages. Now, the problem I have with Customize is that I don't see clear kind of benefits that would make me ignore the sheer volume of the usage of Helm.
Yeah. This takes us
I'm
back.
I'm not saying that the big guy should always win, just to clarify.
Yeah.
But it needs to bring benefits.
That's a restatement of Betamax versus VHS, or Blu-ray versus Ultra HD. Right? These things keep happening over and over again in every form, in every industry. Just because it's the best doesn't mean it's going to be the most widely adopted.
Yeah, exactly.
So, since we're saying that, Kubernetes is widely adopted. Is Mesos superior? Whoa, I'm going to step out of the way for that one. Here we go.
No, but that's a good comparison. Let's say that I could find arguments to say that Mesos is superior. I mean, it's not, but imagine for the sake of argument that I could.
Yes.
So what?
Exactly. So what? That's the point. Now, we love the people at Mesos, right? Don't. It's a great Apache project. No, I got nothing against them. Kubernetes won. Move on.
Yeah.
Moz did confirm that Customize is going to be removed from 1.19, which is the next release. Right? Is that July or August? Somewhere in that ballpark, probably. So.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, the 1.19 is now.
And again, he says, I think, but yeah.
1.19 is. Sorry, interrupted.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead. I'm just going to look at something.
19 is in preview, I think, right now, and stable is supposed to be released not so long from now.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, here's the release notes for 18. So let me pull them up real quick. Go ahead.
Oh, I like the next question.
Oh, you ready? Okay. Oh, from this one?
Everything.
You need to learn everything and nothing all at the same time.
So the amount of tools that we could consider DevOps, which is basically infinite, everything.
Yep.
Nobody can learn it.
No, there's no way.
There's no way what?
There's no way you can learn everything.
Yeah. I mean, because basically, I can say Jira is DevOps, Jenkins is DevOps, Kubernetes is DevOps, Helm is DevOps, whatever anybody, Artifactory is DevOps, Maven is DevOps, everything is bloody DevOps these days, right?
Excel is DevOps, right? You can use Excel to control a Kubernetes cluster. Therefore, now Excel is a DevOps tool.
Now, he says, I work heavily on Kubernetes, so that means that you have a good base on Kubernetes, and that probably means that unless you got bored with it, which might be a good reason, Just build on top of it now. Figure out service mesh, figure out monitoring, figure out. Okay, here's the answer. Go to CNCF site and start from
Here.
graduated projects and move down towards
let's
those
do
in
this.
incubator.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's go here. So let's tell him what he needs to learn. So you said go to graduated, right?
Yes.
Okay, so all these things right here, learn all these.
Yeah.
And then once you've learned all these and you have mastered all of these, then go ahead and learn all the incubating ones. We're joking with you right now.
No.
right?
Let me correct.
Okay.
By the time you learn all those that are graduated, there will
Yes.
be more projects that will enter graduated state. So you
Correct.
can just stick
You'll never
forever
leave
in
graduated. Yeah,
exactly.
You'll never leave graduated. Okay, so let's quit joking for a second. Looking at the graduated ones. Whoops. I can't drill that directly. Okay. Here, I can do this.
There,
Sorry.
yes, exactly.
So let's look at graduated here for just a second. Let me pull the comment down real quick. So here's the graduated ones. So we're not arguing you should learn Kubernetes, right? That's a given.
Yeah.
Prometheus, you should also learn. What about
Yeah.
these? Helm, you should learn.
Envoy is the proxy, the de facto proxy. Every single service mesh is using Envoy except the one from HashiCorp, right?
I don't remember the name of that one. Okay, yes.
Yeah, that
Right.
one.
What about FluentD? You need to understand FluentD, right?
I'll give you that. That's literally day because you're gonna watch 7 hours of Netflix and 1 hour learning FluentD. FluentD is easy.
Right. It's easy. Compare it. What I was saying is, so if you look at the graduated projects, are there any here that you don't really need to completely understand to the bottom? I would argue that you don't need to understand the storage.
No, white is no, and you don't necessarily. Depends really on what is your job. For vast majority of people, core DNS and containerd are not really important to understand.
Right.
Because that is simply going to happen in your cluster.
Right.
I don't know. You will be using AKS, and maybe actually right now in AKS it's containerd, or maybe it's not. Nobody knows. Nobody cares. Unless you're on a level that you do care. Really depends. And Envoy, honestly, if you adopt service mesh, you're not going to deal with Envoy.
You're not going to use Envoy directly.
Yeah.
So think about your directs. To me, the big three are Kubernetes, Prometheus, and Helm.
Yes.
You know those three cold. Everything else is going to sort of fill in around that. If you're in the Kubernetes space, is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Move down. Let me
Move
see.
down.
Did I miss something? Yeah. I mean, Jagger. Okay. Distributed tracing. That is important. But that comes probably after all those.
Right. If you can learn Kubernetes, Prometheus, and Helm, and feel comfortable with those, then start deciding which ones you might want to learn from there.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. We're getting close to bottom. We had a couple more questions come in. Let me drop these in here real quick. Moz followed up on that. The best is usually both Helm and Customize in the end, depending on the use case. Right? We're jumping back to the Helm Customize thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I would, at this point, I'd still stick with Helm, though.
I mean, if you ask default answer, so my default answer is Helm. Now, of course, depending on the situation, why not customize?
Yeah.
The same thing, like we just said, my default answer to monitoring is Prometheus.
Yeah.
But yes, why not Datadog? Why not something else?
Yeah.
It's not always. Just like if I think that Helm is a good answer. If nobody provides additional information, how do we deal with Kubernetes templates? Helm, without further.
Yeah, and that answer is today.
Yeah.
And that's the key part. You're going to have to be willing to change. Here's Moz is weighing in on the stuff of all the tools in DevOps. Oh, there are so many. I can't count them. That's the best way to say it. I can't count them. Mohammed, man, you're welcome.
No, and you know
Hopefully
how how counting works? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's not true.
57,000. Oh, wait. 17 more just popped up. I need to start again counting. And then by the time you end counting, the number increases.
What we need to do is do a Google Trends chart of JavaScript frameworks against Kubernetes tools, and see which one hockey sticks faster.
Kubernetes tools. So we had years of uncertainty with schedulers, right? Mesos, Kubernetes, Nomad, Swarm, and that stabilized on Kubernetes. Now we're having the same situation above Kubernetes. I think that we are already starting to see some clear winners, and more will appear. And probably a year or two from now, it will be okay. Monitoring those two, period. Logging those two, period. Right? There will not be so many choices long from now, but right now, yes.
Okay. We're at about the hour. I do have to get back to work, and you need to take a nap before your next webinar that you're doing. I can't believe you're doing it at 10 p.m. at night your time. Do you want to tell people what it is? Do you want to tell, or is that an open webinar, or is it a paid?
No, I think it's. I think it's actually. I know what it is. I can say. I mean that specific meeting is private, but it's about it's public. Okay. No, but it's organization for the public one, which is basically me from CloudWiz and AWS organizing a joint performance.
That's one way to think about it. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can get some things a little bit better this week that I've been screwing up on. So if you look down in the description below the video, if you're watching it, or depending on how wide it is, if you're watching on your phone, it's too small. If you haven't joined the Slack workspace yet, go ahead and go join the Slack workspace. The link's like right down here, but then it's also below to where you can go and click it. We've also got, if you haven't bought the books or courses yet, now Chaos may be broken. We'll find out after this weekend. Go look at the books and courses. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, if you haven't signed up for the podcast, you just walked by today and you saw us. Thanks for hanging out with us. And finally, we've started a Patreon. It's not really all, I mean, it's set up, but it's not all set up yet. So, if you're getting some, good information out of this, great. And go tip us over there. If you don't want to tip us, that's great too. Doesn't matter. Every little bit helps. What else do we need to talk about today? I think
buy him Coke Zero and buy me gin tonic. Type of attitude.
Basically, yeah. I get Coke Zero, he gets gin and tonic. All right. All right. Well, go take a nap or go eat dinner. Because you actually can go eat dinner now, right? It's 7:30.
Yes. Still early for me.
Still early. Yeah, you just woke up, an hour ago? Is that what it is?
No, it's been almost 7 hours since I'm awake.
Oh, no. Oh, dear. Okay. Let's see if we had anything else here. The URL for the Kelsey Hightower. Yeah, so hang on a second, Miles. Let me grab that real quick. It's streaming audio Tim Berglund. Sorry. It's from Confluent, so Tim's the Berglund. I'm just going to give you the link to the... There it is. All right, I'm just going to drop it down over in the chat. I'll make sure that we talk here for a little bit longer so it goes... Oh, doggone it. Okay, I'm beach balling. There it goes. Okay, there we go. I'm still here. Okay, so there's the... So Maz, there's the link for that thing. Thanks for reminding me about that. I knew I forgot something. Cool. Have fun on your not webinar tonight. So what are you doing next week that's public? I thought you had one event next week that's public.
It sounds like I'm now trying to be funny, but I really don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I'm checking only the day in advance.
Okay. See, I'm going to try to help, because if people want to go hang out with you and not hang out with me, which is fine, doesn't bother me, doesn't hurt my feelings any. I thought you were doing an event next week that was, where is it? Is it the boot camp? Are you doing the boot camp?
I think that there is...
oh, no, that's somebody else. Never mind. I got it confused. That was this week. You did the 4-hour workshop this week, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I got my weeks mixed up. That was me. My bad. Sorry. So he's probably doing something next week. If he's doing anything public, we'll make sure he tweets it out. If you want to go join and see it up.
Yes.
All right, cool. Thanks, Moz. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us this Friday. Next Friday is going to be a little iffy. I know I've got...
He says that every week.
I do, but this Friday, I actually know what next Friday is, and I am currently booked from 1 to 5 Eastern next Friday. So if we do it, we'll have to do it before I have to start. So, which means it'll be
Okay.
earlier in your day. Yeah. Maz, can we talk about observability and open telemetry next week? If
Yes.
if we do next week, that's what we'll talk about.
Yes. Or
sh-
maybe, I don't know yet. That's something interesting
we
to be a bit more structured as a real episode, not live.
Yeah.
So maybe we do, but we'll do one thing or another.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Peace out, everybody. Have a great weekend. And we will, if you're in the U.S., happy Memorial Day. Enjoy your Monday off. And we will see you, hopefully, some way, some shape, next Friday. Later.